Hey everyone, it's Jason and welcome back to Marvel Champions, the card game Age of Apocalypse Part 2. So Part 1, we went over the brand new two heroes, Magik and Bishop, as well as the campaign and new mission cards that you can play. This video, we're going to go through all the different villains. We have our 5 main villains, plus we have 11 modular encounters that are going to be added in here outside of the extra mission campaign stuff. So let's just hop right in. So if you didn't watch the first one for some reason, this is jumping into the Age of Apocalypse storyline, but there are a bunch of changes because there's going to be stuff from the regular Marvel universe that's added in here for some of the encounters, so you can use them. Some of the characters represented look like the Age of Apocalypse versions, some look like the Marvel versions. They kind of mixed and matched everything. They changed the story a little bit. But it's still a neat representation to be able to do. So this was a surprise when I saw this. We started with Unis the Untouchable. He wasn't like a major character in the Age of Apocalypse storyline, so it's interesting we just start with him. But it's also probably because you have to start kind of a smaller threat in these campaigns or these expansions. The only other one I could think of would have made sense would have been Vanisher, which would have been cool as well. So we're going to start with Unis, who's a level 1 prelate, which is more or less just like the elite of the elite. It's more or less what they called them. So we have Toughness. The amount of threat in the gene pool is at least 3. Unis gains 1 Retaliate. 6 gains Stalwart, or 9 gains 1 boost icon. So gene pool is going to be a special card he has. So then when we upgrade him, he just gains an extra steam. He goes from 2 steam to attack. And he gains toughness, and then his level, he just gets up 1 more attack. Well, as his abilities all stay the same. So we have his main steam, Hunting Gene Traders. Prelate Unis and his squad of infinities scour the ruins of the X-Mansion for the enemies of Apocalypse. Force response. After resolving step 1 of the villain phase, place 1 threat on gene pool. Interesting. Let's see if we had your card called gene pool. Is that part of? Yeah, okay. It's part of a modular encounter, but we'll see that. This game is complete. The players lose the game. It's completed. Oh, +1 for each player? Interesting. And it starts with 0. Interesting. So we'll have to see how that all works. We'll get to that. We have Prelate's Sidearm attached to Unis. Force response. After Unis attacks and defeats an ally, place 1 threat on the gene pool. Hero's response. After you make a basic attack, then Unis spend energy and physical resources to discard. Or you can get armor instead. After Unis steams, give him a tough status card. Hero response. After a basic attack, spend a genius or physical to discard. He gets 2 copies of Infinite Hunter, a minion card which has the infinite keyword. I wish it was infinites, just because infinite could mean a different term for other things, so it'd be kind of interesting to have that. But when revealed, deal 3 damage to an ally you control. Boost, choose either to place 2 threat on gene pool, or activating enemy gets 2 steam and 2 attack. Oof. We have 2 copies of Genetic Experiments, an attachment, and there's Dark Beast there. A condition, attached to an infinite minion. Otherwise, this card gains Surge. Attached minion gets 2 hit points. Force Interrupt, when the attached minion is defeated, place 2 threat on gene pool. Pretty cool. You have 2 copies of Infinite Prelate. When you reveal Unis activates against you. If the emotive threat on the gene pool is always 3, give him a tough. 6, heal 3 damage as well, and 9, give an additional boost action. And then we have 2 side schemes. Endless Ranks. The Infinites live up to the name. No matter how many you defeat, they keep making more. When defeated, place 3 threats on the gene pool. Alright, so this is kind of neat, is although it has a modular encounter called the Infinites, it's going to revolve around, and we're going to look at the last card from that set, Gene Pool. So you have to include this with him. But it doesn't mean you couldn't potentially use this in other things. Apocalypse uses raw genetic material of its victims to create infinites. Permanent and setup. Force response. After an ally is defeated by anything other than consequential damage, place 3 threat here. So if they defeat themselves, that's fine. But if someone else defeats them, then they get to put 3 threats on there. So that can definitely be kind of a pain to get rid of it. But in by itself, it doesn't really do anything. It's going to counter a lot of stuff from the other one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We get 5 copies of the Infinite Soldier. Guard, the amount of threat in the Gene Pool is at least 3, meaning gains Quick Strike, 6 gains Surge, and 9 gains 3 hit points. So basically, if you let that Gene Pool get too high, Unis is going to be hard to defeat. Infinite Soldier is going to be hard to defeat. And we also have 2 copies of Culling the Weak. When revealed, place 4 threats on the Gene Pool. Boost, play 2 threats on the Gene Pool. The Infinites were created to enforce the mandate of Apocalypse. The weak must perish. Yeah, so basically the Infinites by himself are just going to if you just place in another thing, they're just going to be trying to like boost themselves. If you play with Unis, it's going to get very powerful. Alright, then we're looking at the next encounter in the set. It kind of goes like the Dystopian Nightmare encounter. Which have 2 copies of Hunted. Plus an extra card. Alter Ego action, discard a card from your hand to discard this card. 2 copies of War Weary. When revealed, you are stunned. If you are already stunned, take 2 damage instead. Boost, if you are stunned, take 2 damage. So just extra little hit on you. And then we have 2 copies of Targeted for Extermination. The Infinities hunt down those whom their master deems unworthy. When defeated, the player defeated this team confuses their identity. So one thing stuns you, one card is going to confuse you, and the other one is going to draw extra cards. So this is one of the ones that's kind of neat where you could throw in almost anywhere just to make the game a little bit harder, but it's not going to be super abusive. But that's pretty fun. So that's our first one. Up next, our second group of villain are the Horsemen of Apocalypse. So this is one of the big distinctions from Age of Apocalypse to the regular. So they're using the regular 4 Horsemen of Apocalypse, the original traditional ones, versus the Age of Apocalypse, which would have been Mr. Sinister, Abyss, Mikhail Rasputin, and originally it was in Holocaust or Genesis, and they leave him completely out of the set. Or Genocide, I think. Where they was Holocaust, and then they changed it to. I think they just changed it to Genesis. But they completely left him out of the set. I think they're trying to avoid conflicts with that name. But they left a lot of stuff out of this. Like, they don't. Spoilers ahead. They don't have, like, the evil versions of, like, Cyclops and Havoc, or the other characters like that. They don't have some of that stuff. They kind of mainly focused on some of the main villains and kind of some of them. But this is still neat, because that way if you play this with something else, it's not going to be weird maybe playing with the Age of Apocalypse versions, which, again, would have been other characters. So they can just call them straight war famine. Now, what's also neat about the way this works is you're going to play against all 4 at the same time. War, death, pestilence, and famine. All 4 will be out A or B sides. So it's going to be very similar to the Wrecking Crew. But then what it'll do is you'll put a counter on each one. And then whoever has the active counter is the one that's activating that turn. And then there'll be various cards that will swap them around. So War has 1 steam to attack. And has a forced response. After War attacks, if he has at least 1 hit point, discard an upgrade or support card. War cannot be defeated while another villain has at least 1 hit point. If he has at least one discard and upgrade. Or cannot be defeated while another villain has at least 1 hit point. Oh, because down there he has 9 hit points. I was looking for the hit point symbol on the side here. Interesting. So if we flip him over, he has a B side a little bit harder. He gains 3 attack, 2 steam. And the same ability though. Then we have Famine. After Famine attacks, he has at least 1 hit point. Discard the top 10 cards of deck. Famine cannot be defeated while another villain has at least 1 hit point. The same thing, just more hit points, more attack and steaming. We have Pestilence. After Pestilence attacks, if she has at least 1 hit point, treat your Dengue box as you were blank, except for traits until the next phase. And then the same thing, just more hit points. And then finally we have Death or Archangel. After Death, who also has Aerial. After Death attacks, if he has at least 1 hit point, you deal 1 damage to each character you control. Death cannot be defeated while another villain has at least 1 hit point. Interesting, so you have to figure out how to defeat all of them. We have the 4 Horsemen of Apocalypse. 4 Horsemen are the most brutal servants of Apocalypse. They strike in turn using their powers as a team. Force response, after villain activates, move the active counter to the next villain. The stage is complete, the players lose the game. Makes sense. So yeah, when it does say down here, shuffle the 4 horsemen, reveal them in a row from left to right. Place the active counter on the leftmost villain. Each player reveals a random side scheme from the 4 horsemen encounter deck. So yeah, you did that. And then we have our side schemes. So we have the Ravages of War. War uses shockwaves to create by his arms to keep his opponents off balance. When defeated, this player who defeats this scheme discards an upgrade or support they control. A Time of Famine. A mere touch of famine leaves the strongest mutant enfeebled. When defeated, the player defeats the scheme, discards the top 10 cards of their deck. So they're all going to kind of match their other abilities. Plague and Pestilence. Pestilence uses her powers to make her enemies sick and helpless. Defeats the scheme, treats their identity text box as their blank, and gains a danger symbol while it's out. And the Spectre of Death. The Shadow of Death drives fear into the hearts of those he hunts. When defeated, the player defeated the scheme deals 1 damage to each character they control. So yeah, you'll play them in any order, so it's not necessarily going to be War, Famine, Pestilence, Death. It could be in any order, and then each player gets a random one of these. So you don't know what one you're going to get. Then they each have their own special attachments. Golden Horse. So we actually get 3 copies of these. So we had 1 steam, 1 attack. Item Tech. Attach to the villain at the fewest hit points without the aerial trait. Attached villain gains aerial trait and is considered to have at least 1 hit point. So this will always keep them with a hit point, right? After you reach the villain, or here's the response. After you attack, attached villain resolves force response. If it's just attack, you discard this card. So yeah, it sucks since it's gonna hit you more. And then we have Metal Wings for Death. Attach to Death and move the active counter to him. Death gains Retaliate 1 and is considered to have at least 1 remaining hit point. So when they have these cards out, you have to get rid of these before you can defeat them. After you attack Death, resolve his force response as if he just attacked you. Then discard this card. Then we get some treacheries for them. Horseman of War, heal 2 damage from War and give him a tough status card he activates against you. Boost. After this activation, War activates against you. Do not give a boost card for that activation. The bottom, which can be the same for all of them. Horseman of Famine, heal 2 damage from Famine, give her a tough status card. Horseman of Pestilence, heal 2 damage from Pestilence, give her a stuffed status card. And Horseman of Death, same thing. And then finally, the last 3 cards we have are Rough Riders. When revealed, reveal the force response on the active villain as if it has 1 hit point. as if it has 1 hit point. And attack you. Move the active counter to the next building and resolve its force response the same way. I was trying to see what it says about defeating them. Players can attack any villain they choose regardless of which villain is the active villain. Certain counter cards will cause specific villains to activate regardless of who is the active villain. You can flip them over. Yeah, so it doesn't say too much other than that. Shuffle and main strike. That's all campaign stuff. Yeah, so the only thing I'm kind of confused on here is war cannot be defeated while another villain has at least 1 hit point. So I think what it means, so for I'm basically assuming this is basically you drop each one of them down to 0 hit points, but they stay in play. So basically until all 4 of them are at 0, they stay in play no matter what. Is how I'm interpreting that. But yeah, so this is a very simply set because not necessarily bad or not difficult, but because it's basically each player goes out and they're just going to be trying to trigger their responses. They're not going to have extra minions or extra little counters and stuff they're going to be doing. But that's kind of cool. Alright, so we have another treachery set, or another, encounter set that goes kind of with this, not directly related to them, but we have the Hounds with Ahab. Cyborg and Tracker, toughness. When revealed, if release the Hounds is in play, place 3 threat on it, otherwise find and reveal it. You cannot hide from me, mutant. Then we get 4 Hound cards. Guard, when revealed, if you are in hero form, the Hound attacks you. Otherwise, change your identity to hero form. Ahab's Hounds are mutants stripped of free will and forced to hunt their own kind. Ahab's Energy Spear. Attached to Ahab, otherwise attached to a villain. Force Interrupt. When attached enemy attacks you, this attack gains Overkill and Piercing. At the end of this attack, discard Ahab's Energy Spear. And then finally, we have his side scheme, Release the Hounds. Ahab takes pleasure in hunting mutants with the help of his hounds. The first copy of Hounds revealed, each phase gains Surge. When defeated, the player who defeats the scheme searches the encounter deck and discard pile for copies of Hounds, deals it to himself face down as an encounter card. So yeah, this just adds extra minions that are going to be attacking you, which always sucks. But it's what it is, right? Cool. Alright, our third villain, this is what I thought was interesting. We are fighting Apocalypse. Apocalypse, right off the bat, from Age of Apocalypse. Starts off kind of weak. 1 steam, 2 attack, mutant, toughness. Force Interrupt. When the main steam is complete, remove all threats from it, ignoring any crisis icons. Flip this card to reveal Apocalypse Side 2. Challenge me and be reminded why Apocalypse reigns supreme. So it has 8 hit points, but when you defeat it, you flip this over. Steady and Toughness. Force Interrupt. When the main steam is completed, while threats from it, ignoring any crisis icons, remove this card from the game and reveal Apocalypse 3. You are foolish to oppose me. So he has 2 steam, 2 attack, and 9 hit points. Side 3, he gets 2 steam, 3 attack, steady, toughness, and 10 hit points. Force Interrupt. When the main steam is complete, remove all threats from it, ignoring crisis, and reveal Side 4. This world belongs to me, and those I deem worthy. So he has 4 sides that you have to beat in conjunction. Then 3 with 3 attack. Stalwart, toughness. His attacks gain Overkill. Force Interrupt. When the main steam is complete, the players lose the game. I will cleanse this world with fire. Only the strong will survive. So his main steam is Age of Apocalypse, which is X per player. The time has come for a direct assault on Apocalypse's towering citadel. X is a number of Apocalypse's printed hit point value. Crazy, right? So yeah, it says when you defeat each one, right? Move all threats from it and flip this card and reveal Apocalypse 3. So yeah, you're gonna keep doing that, and it's a sports interrupt. When Apocalypse is defeated, discard each attachment from him. Heal all damage from his deck, removing X threats from this team, ignoring any crisis icons. So yeah, if you defeat the main Steam here, he gets harder to defeat, right? But on the other hand, if you defeat him, then this gets removed, and now you have to keep trying to go back and defeat it, which is very interesting. We have a side Steam right away. We have Heart of the Empire. Before you can challenge Apocalypse, you must fight your way through the tower. Threats cannot be removed from the Steam while a prelate minion is in play. When defeated, the first player reveals a random set-aside prelate minion. Deal each other player an encounter card and then flip over this card. So I flip this over. It's actually a different sided, the Towering Citadel. When defeated, the player reveals a random set-aside prelate minion. Reveal each other player encounter card. Reveal the Tyrant's Throne Steam and remove this card from the game. So it's kind of neat. So Apocalypse keeps evolving and getting harder. His side Steam's going to kind of do the same thing, right? You defeat one, defeat prelates first, then you can defeat this. You defeat it, then it puts a prelate in play. Now you have to defeat that one to defeat this. So the prelates again are almost to an extent more or less most of his 4 horsemen. So it's kind of a neat little mechanic here for that, right? You have to defeat each one of them. When defeated, reveal a random set-aside prelate minion. Deal each other player a counter card. Flip this card over to no longer worthy. So you have to defeat him 4 times. You have to defeat his side Steams 4 times. And then he gets an attachment. Attach Apocalypse and heal 5 damage per player from him. He cannot take damage while prelate minion is in play. Ignore the Force Interrupt on the main Steam. And Force Interrupt when Apocalypse is defeated, players win the game. Pretty interesting. And then he has some cards go with him. So now that comes back to his like old school form, which is interesting. I wish that almost would have been like an extra encounter. You could just add it into that because this would have been neat. Attach to Apocalypse. After Apocalypse Steams, place 1 threat on each side Steam. Boost attaches the card to Apocalypse. Biomorphing. Superpower, he gains Overkill and an attack point. And Molecular Control, gains Retaliate 1 and Stalwart. Apocalypse power to control every molecule in the body makes him an unpredictable foe. 2 copies of the Fittest. Attach to the minion with the highest printed hit points and give it a tough status, otherwise this card gains surge. Attached enemy gets 5 hit points, plus an attack and a steam. Apocalypse promotes only the strongest and most ruthless to the ranks of prelate. 3 copies of Wolf Among Sheep. This is a couple of times you see Magneto in his white outfit, which is not what he wore during Age of Apocalypse, his Age of X costume, and later on in the regular comics, but still interesting and we're going to get him as a playable character. When revealed, the prelate minion activates against you, otherwise Apocalypse acts. And then the last 2 is we have the Apocalypse Solution. Side Steam. Apocalypse would rather burn his kingdom to the ground than surrender his rule. When defeated, discard the top X cards of the encounter deck, where X is a number of Apocalypse printed hit point value. Crazy. Awesome. So that is Apocalypse. It's kind of a pain to defeat. Then we have the prelates. So on the back side of the prelates were the overseers from the first video we talked about. We have good mission cards. And then the back side is when we actually get to fight them. So you have Mr. Sinister, 1 steam, 1 attack, 5 health per player, elite and prelate. Retaliate 1, toughness and villainous. Victory 3, Mr. Sinister engages the first player. The Shadow King, toughness and victory 3, engages the first player. Force response, after Shadow King attacks you, choose an ally you control at the highest thwart. Either discard the ally or place on the main steam equal to its threat. Cool. Abyss. Toughness and victory 3. Gets 2 hit points for each face down card attached to him and engages the first player. Force response. After Abyss activates against you, tap the attach card of your deck to him face down. Sugarman. Toughness and victory 3. Force interrupt when Sugarman attacks. This attack gains piercing. If the attack defeats a character, heal 5 damage from him. And then finally, Magik Rasputin. Ilyana and Colossus, and Magik and Colossus' brother. Magik Rasputin engages the first player. Force interrupt. When Magik Rasputin attacks you, deal 1 damage to your identity. Cool. So I like the fact these are kind of double cards. So you play them against in the mission, or you can play them against fighting them as villains, and they kind of tie into the Apocalypse set, which is really neat. Alright, then to also go with Apocalypse, that's just more like the original Apocalypse, but it also goes with whoever's running the game at the time, whether it was Apocalypse or Genesis, or whoever was in charge at the time. They basically just followed that motto. Is the Dark Riders, Mr. Sinister for a while. So you have Gauntlet here, who has teamwork with Dark Riders. Force response. After Gauntlet attacks you, discard an upgrade you control. You want someone gone, you hire the Dark Riders. Barrage, who has like guns for arms. After Barrage attacks you, deal 1 damage to each character you control. Don't expect someone named Barrage to be picky with their targets. Hard Drive. Force response. After Hard Drive attacks, you place 1 threat on each steam. I finished my scan. Ready to jump. Tusk. Force response. After Tusk attacks you, you are stunned. And then Synapse, who's our the teleporter. Force response. After Synapse attacks you, you are confused. And then we get their side steam. So we didn't get Hurricane here, which should have been the other member. One of the other members. I think there's like 2 more. Dark Riders live in the axiom, the weak must perish. Live by the axiom. Hinder 1 per player. Each Dark Rider minion gains toughness. When revealed, discard cards from the encounter deck until a Dark Rider's minion is discarded and reveal it. So just a fun extra little villain group you can add in to fight during any game, which is always fun to have. Alright, our next villain is Dark Beast. So this is the only main version we get of a villain in Age of Apocalypse, a hero that became a villain. So Henry McCoy here became evil in this thing, and he's a brute and a genius. Force interrupt. When Dark Beast attacks, you resolve the special ability on the settings environment. When revealed, reveal a random set aside the environment and shuffle the rest of it. Rest of its encounter set into the encounter deck. A villain's work is never done. Brute Genius. Again, catches all the setting. When revealed, it says it's all the same effects for each one. Just use that more attack and more hit points and stuff. Then his final one, he has 3 steam to attack with 22 hit points. So he gets Dark Beast's Bogus Journey. Dark Beast activates his time machine to ensure the rise of Apocalypse, but your quick actions ruin his calculations. You wrestle for control of the device as it transports you through time and space. If this stage is complete, the players lose the game. Alright, so it's gonna say set the moon base, the blue moon, the Kenosha, and Savage Land sets aside, including each environment card in those sets. In expert mode, reveal high-tech gadgets. So I don't usually look at the back, but it just has that special setup. It says 3 special settings that you have to look at. So start with his goggles. His high-tech goggles attach to Dark Beast. Exhaust your hero and resolve the special ability of the settings environment. Discard this card. Genetic enhancements. Attach to Dark Beast. Exhaust your hero and resolve the special ability on the settings environment. 2 copies of Cruel Experiment. Attached minion gets +2 hit points and gains guard. When revealed, discard cards from the top of the encounter deck until you discard a minion, reveal that minion, and attach Cruel Experiments to it. I could do this with Anesthesia, but what fun would that be? 3 copies of Evil Genius. When revealed, Dark Beast steams, giving him a tough status card. When revealed, Dark Beast attacks you, giving an additional boost card. And then we have 2 copies of Time Traveling Shenanigans. When defeated, the player defeated this team discards the top card of the encounter deck until they discard a card from the same encounter as the setting environment and reveals the just discarded card. Cool. So yeah, he's in of himself, he's not probably that difficult, but his thing's gonna be from these setting cards. Now I think there's settings from other sets as well. I want to say the Mojo set might have been settings as well. I have to double check that. But yeah, she might be able to mix in other ones than just these 3 if you ever wanted to. But we're going to get 3. But then they can always be used by themselves as well. So we can go to Savage Land. So during setup, this comes in. The villain gains Retaliate 1. Special. Discard the top 3 cards of your deck. When revealed, discard each other setting environment in play. If we play the Pterosaur, aerial creature, when revealed, resolve the special ability on the setting environment. Boost if a Savage Land is in play, deal Pterosaur to yourself as a face down counter. We get 2 Velociraptors, creatures with Quick Strike. Forcing up when a Velociraptor attacks you, discard the top card of your deck. Velociraptor gets +1 attack for this for each resource icon discarded this way. 2 copies of Giant Ape. Guard, when defeated, the player who defeated Giant Ape resolves a special ability on the setting. This is why you don't feed the animals. And we get Land Out of Time. When revealed, the Savage Land is in play, resolve its special ability and take 1 indirect damage for each resource icon on the discarded card. Otherwise, find it and reveal it. The Savage Land is exactly what you expect from a prehistoric jungle in the middle of Antarctica. And then we got a side scheme. Village under attack. We need to save the village from those dinosaurs. It's something I never imagined I would say. When revealed, each player reveals a special setting from the environment. So there's just some dinosaurs to fight, which is really cool. Up next we have Genosha. Villain gains steady. Place 1 threat on the main scheme for its special. We get 2 copies of the Magistrate. Genosha with Patrol. When defeated, each defeating player finds the extinct mutant and attaches it to their identity. If an escaped mutant is attached to identity, this card gains 3 boost. Interesting. 2 copies of Armored Unibike. Genoshan Vehicle. Yeah, these are kind of neat. Remember these from the Apocalypse video game, Mutant Apocalypse video game. You fight some of these guys coming at you. Armored Unibike engages a player with escape mutant attached if able. Force response after armored Unibike attacks with all the special settings. I have the mutant signal. Move to intercept the Genoshan mech. Genoshan Vehicle Guard and Toughness. After Genoshan mech attacks and defeats one of your allies, resolve special ability twice. The seats are built to counter our powers. Escape Mutant. Alright, so this is a cargo attack. Each Genoshan minion that engages with you gains Quick Strike, Alter Ego action, resolve the special on the setting to discards. Mutant who wish to escape from Genoshan must find a way to evade the Magistrate. So this is kind of cool. So like attaches it and makes them hard to fight, or makes you a target rather. And then Police State. Genoshan built by exploiting the mutant population. Hinder 1 per player. When defeated, the player defeated this team finds the escape mutant and attaches it. So this just makes one of your characters a target, which is very cool. Alright. Then our third setting is the blue area of the moon. Now this is very interesting. I thought, are we gonna fight humans? Something with the Watcher? Nope, we're getting something completely different. Deal 1 damage to your identity. And each minion gains guard. Ooh, that sucks, but it makes sense. Because we're fighting the Imperial Guard, so with Gladiators. So this is a neat way to add them into the game as well. Like, right, we just got them, now we gotta fight them on the blue area of the moon. Trial by combat is in play, Gladiator cannot take damage. Boost, if trial by combat is in play, Deal Gladiator to yourself face down on an encounter card. Oracle. Team worked with Imperial Guard. When revealed, you are confused. If you are already confused, revolve the special ability on the settings environment. This is not a fight you can win. This also makes sense for Blue of the Moons. This is where they, for the Trial of the Phoenix, right? This is where the X-Men went up to the Blue of the Moon. They had to fight the Imperial Guard. So I kind of think that's where the linkage is there. Manta. When revealed, you are stunned. If you're already stunned, resolve this special setting. Unga Bleaching. I can't see. Earthquake. When revealed, exhaust your identity. If you're already exhausted, resolve the special ability. Let me shake things up. I do always find it weird that it's called Earthquake, because almost every comic book, when they refer to Earth and when they're space characters, they call it Terran or Terra instead of Earth. So I always thought it was weird. So, like, we call it Earth, aliens call it Terra, yet then they have a character called Earthquake. Well, why would you call it Earthquake? Wouldn't it be Terraquake or Landquake or something? Yeah, it's always weird. War Star is very interesting. We all have his little buddy back there up at the top. His name I can't remember off the top of my head. When revealed, discard a top card of the encounter deck. If it's an Imperial minion, reveal it. Otherwise, resolve the special setting. Imperial Guardsman, which is a title. Attached to a minion, otherwise it gains surge. This minion gets plus 4 hit points and gains Imperial Guard trait. Force Interrupt. When minions defeated, resolve a special ability on the setting. So what's cool here is because we do have the Blue Moon, they could also make a second one later on that's called the Imperial Guard, and add some more of the characters. Like we have Fang over here, we have Smasher. I think this guy's name is something with fire or flare or solar. I think it's solar something. But there's like 12 different members. The guards constantly rotating. They don't have like plutonium on here either. So yeah, you could also make a separate set called the Imperial Guard, which could then combine with this at a later time, which should be interesting. Then Trial by Combat. Shi'ar Law grants the accused an opportunity to defend themselves, but they must battle the Imperial Guard. When defeated, shuffle each Imperial Guard minion into the encounter discard pile into the encounter deck. Crazy, so then they come right back. So that's fun as well. Again, these are really cool because they work with Dark Beast and 3 different encounter sets. They work with him to make a full minion to fight against, but then it's also the fact is you can just play these by themselves, which is cool as well. Alright, so we got one more boss to go through. Alright, so I did a quick check because I wanted to see what the other setting cards were. Yes, Mojo has like 5 setting cards, and I think the Hood has 1 set of setting cards. The only difference would be, just for the Dark Beast thing, is that a lot of them mention, like his cards mention, resolving this special ability. None of them have special abilities. So although, yes, you could set aside a bunch of setting cards, none of them would have the special abilities that would trigger. So although it's kind of cool that they have alternate settings you could potentially use, they aren't going to link over. I think that's, it's kind of one of the downsides of what this game does, is it does have a bunch of stuff like that where, oh, this would be kind of cool with this, or this would be cool with that, but then they put these weird limiting factors or things that don't always work, to make some of them as a little less modular, but that's alright. It's what it is. Alright, so before we head to the last villain, which I will kind of spoil, it is Apocalypse. So we're fighting the regular Apocalypse, the main universe, not the AOA version. But he's very special. We're going to look at his encounter sets first. Just because I want to save the end of the video for something kind of cool. So we just start with the Age of Apocalypse set. Just funny, they're like the last encounter set in the game. And we get 2 copies of the Agent of Apocalypse, which are part of the Clan Akaba. Guard. When revealed, choose either add Agent of Apocalypse to the mission area or activate against you. Boost, deal 1 damage to an ally after mission. Give the activating enemy an additional boost. So this is kind of neat because this is like one of the few guys that can jump in and mess with the actual missions in the game, so you can have them used for that. And then we have 2 copies of Worldwide Crisis. When revealed, either place 3 threat on the mission side steam or take 1 damage. And this card gains Surge. Boost, place 1 threat on the mission steam or give the activating enemy additional boost. So they can be used outside of the missions, but they're kind of meant to be tied in when you're playing mission, when you're using the mission cards, so that they can affect them. Up next, we have, speaking of Clan Akaba, we have their set. We have Ozymandias, who is a guy that pissed off Apocalypse. They turned him to stone and made him a scryer. Toughness, villainous, and when Ozymandias steams, place threat on Ancient Ritual. Boost, choose either place 3 threats on Ancient Ritual or this card gains 3 boost. Scarab. Quick Strike and Force Response after Scarab attacks. Place 1 threat on Ancient Ritual. 3 threat instead if the attack defeated an ally. And then 3 copies of Clan Akaba Zealots. Guard, when defeated, place 2 threat on Ancient Ritual. Or boost, place 1 threat on Ancient Ritual. Tyrant Worship. Place 5 threats on Ancient Ritual. Says Ancient Ritual is going to be a big thing for this set, or for this little encounter here. Boost, either place 3 threats on or it gains 3 boost. When Clan Akaba has dedicated itself completely towards Merciless Doctrine. And then Ancient Ritual says, not sure what they're doing, but I'm sure it's not good. Permanent and silent. Force Response. After this placer, if there's at least 10 threats, you remove 5 threats from the steam and deal damage to each player a face down counter card. So overall, I mean, that's obviously never a good thing, but basically all these guys are going to keep doing is trying to place more and more threats on here, and eventually it's going to trigger. So yeah, you can do that by you can't do much when they're clutches or when they're revealed, right? Force Response after they attack. When he schemes. So you can get rid of some of the other guys to like help reduce that and then try and remove this. Otherwise you're gonna get one. But if you don't, they're just gonna keep adding more and more and more. So it's gonna keep hitting you. Alright. Then the last encounter is Celestial Tech, which is what Apocalypse uses to power himself up. It's kind of funny though, right? Guy that's different claim, survival of the fittest, only the weak survive, only the strong survive, weak need to be destroyed. Uses celestial armor to make himself more powerful, right? Kind of interesting. So he has attached to the villain. Force Interrupt. When this villain steams against you, discard your top card of your deck. If that card resource has energy, heal 2 damage from the villain. Genius. You are confused. Discard. Physical. Give the villain a tough status card, or wild. Do all of the above. It does give 0 steam though, which is interesting. Plus 0, but it's when he steams, he gets to do this additional ability. Or he can get this Celestial Weapon, which lets him do the thing attack. When he attacks, discard the top card, deal 2 damage to identity, discard a card from your hand. If you are stunned, discard this card, or do all of the above. And then we have 2 copies of Celestial Tech. Unrevealed, for each celestial attachment in play, resolve its effect as if the attacked villain just steamed against you and attacked you. There are no celestial attachments on this villain. Search the card deck and discard pile for it and shuffle. So again, really cool. A little extra thing you can add in just to kind of pump up your villain. If you want that. They've had other cards that you pump up minions and stuff. It'd be neat though if they ever add more celestial cards, so like you can combine this with something else to make them even work together. Which would be really cool. Alright, now on to the final thing. We have Apocalypse. Level 1, Mutant and Biomorph. Apocalypse attacks gain Overkill. Force Response after Apocalypse changes to this form, deal 1 indirect damage to each player. Now I claim my destiny. So this is what's neat. So it says after he changes his form. So we have side 1, we have Biomorph. If we flip him over, we get also level 1. We have Cyberpath, Retaliate 1. Force response. After he changes form, place 1 threat on each steam in play. I have judged you and found you waiting. So he has a 2 steam 1 attack side and a 1 steam 2 attack side. Either does damage for attacking or does steaming. But then he has a third form. It's our first villain that flips open. 2 steam, 2 attack, and he's giant. Stalwart. After Apocalypse changes form, heal 1 damage from him. So kind of like his defense ability. I am as far beyond mutants as they are above humans. That's basically the famous line from X-Men animated series. So that's pretty cool, right? He gets 3 forms. He gets to flip open. So you're going to keep flopping between them depending on what they do. But then he additionally, on top of that, has a level 2 that does it. So his attacks, his biomorph side gets an extra attack. So now he has 3 and does 2 damage. 3 steam and places 2 threats. Or he can grow big and he gains 3 attack and heals 2 damage. And now he has 20 hit points, right? Or he has level 3, which has still 3 attack, so he doesn't gain any extra attack there. But he gains, he doesn't gain extra, but now he does 3 damage. The other side he has 3 steam and gains 3 threat. Or he can grow big and how he heals 3 damage. And it's 24 hit points. So that's really cool. They have the 3 different versions of him. I'm going to set those guys off to the side. We're going to look at his main steam. And Saba Nur's Pyramid. So that's his regular name. With his high-tech pyramid, Apocalypse prepares for his ascension. Force response. After resolving step 1 of the villain phase, place 1 power counter here. If there is 4 power counters here, the first player removes 4 of them and discards cards from the top of the encounter until a superpower card is discarded and reveals it. So every turn, it's just going to get a little bit better, and then after 4 turns, it's going to trigger. Now, it could obviously be other things that are going to put stuff on there. We have main steam 2, Rise of Apocalypse. This is the first character in the set that has 2 steams. Everyone else has only had 1 main steam. Force response. After resolving step 1 of the villain phase, place power counter here. Place 4 power counters here. The first player removes them and discards the top card of the encounter deck considered to be superpowers. So the same thing. Steam is lost, players lose the game. Yeah, so it's basically flipped over the next one, and then it's just harder to beat. We are going to get 2 copies of Staggering Strength, a superpower attached to Apocalypse and chain him to his giant form. Force Interrupt. When Apocalypse attacks, you are stunned. Discard this card after this activation. Gives him 2 attack, plus he gets to heal damage right away. Biomorphic Blast. When revealed, if Apocalypse is in biomorph form, he activates against you. Otherwise, change him to his form, place 1 power on the main steam. So yeah, you get this. He gets to play that, does that, plus he gets to do a steaming effect. Technological interface, 2 copies of those. When revealed, if he's in cyberpath form, he activates you, otherwise he changes, which means he gets to do damage for free, and place 1 power counter. And then he has a third one, it's just 2 copies of Giant Size Despot. When revealed, if in Giant form, he activates, otherwise you change him and place 1 power. So it's neat because power counters from the main steam will let you find these cards. And if they're already in that if they're not in that specific form, you're going to get a chance to switch back, get more power counters to activate these cards more often. Plus, every time he switches, right, he's going to get a free attack or a free steam or a free healing. So you're going to keep making them harder and harder to beat. He has a couple of side schemes to help him out. So here's some of his other horsemen. And that's funny because that's Moira as Death, or as Apocalypse, her form. That's kind of funny. So it's like the first Krakoan card I think I've seen. When defeated, a source of power. When defeated, if Apocalypse is in biomorph form, he activates since the player defeated the steam. Otherwise, he changes to biomorph and gives a tough status card. Plugged in. It's table popping in after him. Superpower. When defeated, Apocalypse is in cyberpathy form, he activates against the player. Otherwise, change, he gains a tough status card. And then Giant Growth. Defeat if he's in giant form, activates. Otherwise, changes and gives a tough status card. So each one will give him a tough status card, which make him harder to defeat. Each one has an extra different symbol. Draws your cards, extra boost, or a crisis thing as well. So yeah, he has all these cards that are just going to keep swapping in these different forms. Again, each time he switches, he gets either a free damage, free steam, or free healing. Which is going to make him harder to defeat, right? Because then, one hand you want to be in that form? Probably not, because then he's just going to attack you or activate against you, which means you'll get more steam than that. Otherwise, he's going to get a free one anyhow. So, pretty interesting. And you have flip between all three. These dual-sided cards are definitely one of the reasons why I personally want to buy like 2 sets of all the different characters and all the stuff with the cards. Because I have the extra aspect cards for the game, so I can keep my characters how they are, but then I can go ahead and make my own new decks, and if it's not working out, I always have the original decks to fall back on. And then the other reason is these open-sided cards is so I can basically sleeve this like this, and then have Apocalypse ready to go either side, and then I can sleeve a third form with him open, right? And then that way I can just pull it out, and I don't have to keep pulling the card out or keep opening and closing this all the time. So far it's been Ant-Man and Giant Man have been the only, or Ant-Man and Wasp been the only other 2 characters that have this, but now I have a third villain, which is cool. That's another thing I love. I love with these games is, I said, looking at Beast, I said, yeah, they have other setting cards that wouldn't necessarily work with him, but it is neat. I mentioned the Imperial Guard and the Blue Moon, you can make extra little ones like that. But utilizing different aspects. We've had giant cards. Cool. Made more giant cards, or these foldable cards for villains, which is utilizing something that was only previously for heroes. Heroes using resources for reasons other than resources. Just mixing and matching all this different stuff together. The side mission cards are really cool. Add an extra element to the game. Just that really neat stuff I really love. Alright, so that's what we have for the Age of Apocalypse. So we do still have a couple other character expansions to come out for this set that have yet to be released. We've announced Jubilee and Iceman are 2 more characters. You've seen a bunch of these cards, and I think we have 3 more in this set. I think there's a total of 5, and I'm gonna guess just by basing off cards we've seen. We have Polaris, who's been showed in several cards, Cannonball, who's been showed on several cards, and Magneto has been showing on several different cards as well. So I think those 3 might be high possibilities for all of them. Playable Magneto would be really cool, because he's been a hero almost as long, probably as much time as he's been a villain for stuff. And even when he is technically a villain, he's usually a villain against the X-Men. He's generally not an overarching villain. Polaris would be cool as well. That'd be the only thing, is I don't know if I necessarily want both Magneto and Polaris back to back, just because I'm sure they would find ways to make their cards and stuff work different, the same way Wolverine and X-23 work different. But I also feel like it'd be too similar of a power set, right close to each other. So maybe Polaris now, and then, although that'd be cool if we also got Havoc, so we'd have some more X-Factor members. That would be cool to get some more X-Factor characters added into the game. But that might come maybe if they do a 4th set of this, but I don't know. It's usually only done about 2 or 3 campaigns per group of characters. So I'm guessing this will probably be the end of X-Men for a while, and they'll jump back into either another Spider-Man set or Avengers set, be my assumption. But maybe they'll just start doing all of them, mixing and matching. Maybe the next set will be Uncanny Avengers. That'd be kind of cool too. Yeah, then the other character was Cannonball, which again would be neat to work with Cable and Domino, but I'd almost have to argue, though, if I'm going to get more X-Men characters, I would rather have Beast. We haven't seen Beast yet. He's one of the core members. I mean, we have Cyclops, Storm, Wolverine, all of them. I would love to see Beast. as one of the other main ones, and we have at least the 5 main X-Men, which would be cool. Yeah, we'll definitely see what we get. White Queen would also be a neat one to get. We haven't seen her. Alright, that's what we got for Marvel Champions Age of Apocalypse. Hope you guys enjoyed. Check out the other videos. See you guys later. Bye.